Is there conflict avoidance happening in your workplace? Is the conflict at work starting to talk to everyone? Are you hearing the silence? Well, you know what? If your team avoids conflict at all cost, then I want you to listen closely because what looks like keeping the peace might actually be creating more issues in the workplace. Truly, it is so important because often what we see is when the long term damage to your team's performance, their trust, resilience can be really hampered by this whole idea of conflict avoidance. My name is Joyce Odidison, conflict analyst, resilience specialist, and workplace well being coach. And after 28 years of helping organizations resolve conflict, rebuild trust, I have seen this one mistake destroy morale more than any other. So often we think, I won't say anything and it will just go away. Conflict avoidance is not the answer. Actually, when we avoid conflict, it doesn't solve the problem. Guess what happens? It doesn't eliminate the problem, it actually multiplies it. Here's the truth, most leaders miss that. They think that if I avoid conflict, it will just go away, it'll solve itself. What it does actually, it simply pushes it on the ground where it festers. And I see sometimes employees, they are stressed and they don't even know why they're stressed because they tell me, oh, I just feel so, I just feel so uncomfortable at work. And sometimes it's the stress. You feel the tension in the air. You know there is something, but nobody's talking about it. It's the elephant in the room. And one client said to me, she said, Joyce, you can you can hear the silence. The silence in my office is so loud. I need earphones. It's like, I said, really? And she said, what begins as a simple misunderstanding can quietly become a culture of silence, passive aggression, or even burnout and mental illness. It really affects employees' mental health when, and all of us, because I know for myself, if there is something going on and we haven't dealt with it, it sits around and you can just feel the tension in your shoulders, your skin. It's there. So that silent tension, it shows up. It shows up in disengagement, it shows up as missed deadlines, and that elephant in the room no one wants to talk about just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And often what happens? Employees get overwhelmed, they get burnt out, they get stressed out because it's not their work that's taking their energy. It's the amount of energy they have to use to avoid that unspoken thing, to not deal with it, to not say anything, to not look at it. Because if I say something, somebody else might get upset. If I talk about it, nobody wants to talk about it, Joyce, right? So I want you to recognize that conflict can actually be a pathway to growth. Now, you may be listening to me and say, yeah, Joyce, yes, because you're a conflict analyst, you think all of us are. Truly, conflict can be a pathway for growth. I know conflict is uncomfortable, but what if I told you that healthy conflict is one of the fastest ways to build trust, innovation, and team resilience? If you think your team is not resilient, nobody trusts each other, get a healthy conflict going and you'll see the transformation. Now, what do I mean by a healthy conflict? Aha, you must be thinking, like, what is she talking about? What is a healthy conflict? A healthy conflict is when I'm able to tell you how I feel, what I'm thinking, without being rude and disrespectful, with understanding that a conflict is just it's competition for scarce resources. So it could be different thoughts. Like I want to advocate my thought and you want to advocate your thought. But how can we do that in a way that I am not I want to advocate my thought. What I do, advocate my thought, I say, you know what? I think this is a really good option for us on the table. And you disagree and you say, well, I know you think that and I hear you, but I tend to disagree, Joyce. I believe that this is actually the better choice for us. So you see, now we have a competition for scarce resources. What is the scarce resources? And attention, right? I believe my point of view is the one that should get the attention, should be listened to, and should be heard. But if I disrespect you, if I disrupt you and I say, oh, shush, come, shut your mouth, don't talk, you're so stupid. What are you talking about? You have no sense. Now I'm attacking the person. Now, this is where most people get to why they're so scared of conflict. They think that every conflict have to be negative. We have to knock each other down. We have to make each other feel miserable. Actually, no. Conflicting points of views are meant to open and expand our thinking. When I am thinking something and you're thinking something and there are conflicting points of view, and I give you space to share your argument, share your point of view, share why you think it's the solution, and then you give me space to do that. Now we are working collaboratively. We are still in conflict, but we understand that we need to take turns. We need to listen, truly listen to each other, not sit down and listen to what they say, but actually come up with my argument, but really listen to each other and say, well, I hear what you say here, but it got me to think about this. What about this point? Right? So you are now engaging in a robust dialogue and you're expanding each other's thinking. You're stretching the concept. You're moving each other further. That's what you're doing. And that is so healthy for teams because now I know and I trust that you are going to take the time to listen to me. That's how we build trust. And I'll talk about trust on a whole other level. But this is one step to building trust. When I don't listen to you, you don't trust me to listen to, that I will listen, that I will give you your point of view some airtime and give you the benefit of a doubt and truly believe that you can have a point of view that's worth listening to. You see, often we spend so much time fighting with each other, dis, dissing each other, putting each other down, and basically street fighting. And that has no place in the boardroom or the classroom or the office. What we need to do is listen to each other. And that, when we talk about team resilience, that means we can trust each other to go the long haul and to bounce back and to repair our relationships and to work things out. And that's where you really see the conflict working, right? Being that growth, that path for growth. Being able to give each other feedback, good feedback. I hear what you say, right? It's really, that's what it is. It tells us something is out of alignment. When handled correctly, it opens the door to deeper understanding, clearer boundaries, and stronger collaboration. We can have those dialogues, we can have those collaborative dialogues where we don't always agree, but we understand. So here it is. Teams that engage in respectful, structured conflict resolution perform better, period, over the board. You know, when I go in to an organization and for instance, I'm doing a team charter, I go in and it's conflicted. People don't want to hear each other. They're not used to listen to each other. It's not part of the custom, the norms of the team to listen to each other. It's not part of their go-to to give each other the opportunity to share their thoughts or even to share opposing ideas. Because what often happens is people become so emotionally distraught and they are attacking each other. And their emotions are what's coming up over their thought process. So they're not thinking clearly and sharing the information that they want to say because there are so many other things happening. So let's talk about what happens when you lean in with the right tools, right? When you're leaning into that conflict, right? When we work with teams inside of the whole resilience clinic, so we do a 12-month resilience competency mastery clinics. And in these clinics, we don't just manage conflict, we transform it. We teach our employees or clients that are coming to work with us and our leaders how to transform these conflicts, because it's not about being mad at the other person and being really, I'm injured by the other person because they attacked me. No. We teach you how to name the real issue without blame. So what I'm understanding is that this order wasn't fulfilled properly. It's not that it was your fault. It just wasn't fulfilled properly. So then how can we work to ensure that that doesn't happen again? How can we mitigate that problem going forward so orders are fulfilled properly? So we name without blame. Very important. We respond instead of reacting. This is not a good way for us to do business. A reaction would be, what do you mean? Are you blaming me? Do you have a better way? If you know the way is so better, why don't you do something about it? Right? Or we could respond and say, I'm hearing you. What's your thought? What are you thinking? What are some ideas that would change situation, that would make us a better team, that would help us to deal with things differently? So we tend to, and sometimes we have to, you bring in that NLP, and part of what we teach is that sometimes you have to do things to keep your body and your mind in the same direction. So your emotion wants to go out, but when you do something like this, you're able to just respond and calm yourself down so you can actually respond and walk away feeling stronger, not scared. That means I walk away feeling heard. I walk away feeling understood. I walk away feeling valued. I walk away feeling listened to. You understand? Instead of walking away feeling dejected, criticized, put down, demeaned, belittled, undervalued. But this is what many teams are used to when conflict happens. There is no conflict resilience. They've never had the opportunity to spend time to really develop conflict resilience. So they just avoid conflict. It's like, let's just not deal with it. Right? They've not had the test to really understand how they can recognize the emotions and say, I am going to respond instead. I will not react. Imagine your team having the confidence and the language to deal with conflict constructively before it becomes toxic. Just imagine what that would be like. That people could actually disagree and not call each other names and accuse each other. And often I say to clients, I have a different recollection of this. Not that the other person is lying, because we have very different perspective and views. I can see something differently. I could hear something differently. I could see this and think it's red, and you could see it and say, oh, it's just purple. Right? It's not that we are wrong. It's just we have different perspectives. So now that we have different perspectives, what conflict does is that when you have different perspective, it's just showing you like, hey, these two are not aligned. Let's expand and see what's going on and come up with something that we both understand. And sometimes you walk away saying, oh, Okay, I can see why you see it as purple. Oh, I know why you saw it as red. That's okay, right? It doesn't have to be a big, like the world has changed. It's sometimes just agreeing that our perspectives are different. So if you've been avoiding conflict or some kind of difficult conversation in your workplace with a team member, with your boss, with your colleague, I want you to ask yourself this. What's it already costing your team? The conflict that you haven't responded to, the issues that you haven't dealt with, is it already impacting your team? Are there not members of your team that sense the frustration between you two and see the avoidance and you're not really talking? So now they're making allowances. Yeah, I know you're upset with Jane, but um so it's already costing your team some discomfort. They have to spend time thinking the workaround, how to work around you both. They This is costing your team already time, money, and energy. Energy that's depleting your resilience. Energy that should be focused on working together and getting results. Is spent how we're gonna go between what do we need to say so that doesn't cause a flare up? What do we need to do? And that can be changed. It can be changed. So let's talk about how you change that. You need to give yourself the opportunity to start practicing conflict resilience. And let's see, when do we do that? In September, we will be focusing on conflict resilience as one of the whole resilience ecosystem sequence. We do one competency per month. We develop those competencies. We help leaders and employees learn how to build that competency within their organization, within their culture, within their structure. So each month we focus on just one competency. And I believe it's in September we'll be doing the whole conflict resilience. And we're not just teaching conflict resilience, we're teaching all the micro skills that comes with that. The micro skills of listening, the micro skills of speaking, the micro skills of dealing with your emotions. So all those micro elements that's necessary to truly build that competency are addressed in throughout that month and truly helps us to build. So it's not a done deal. This is how we are and we're going to be that way and it's never going to change. There is always something we can do about our situation. There's always something we can do to grow and learn. And conflict is such a prevalent part of our lives. Everyone needs to learn conflict resolution skills, including you in your workplace. So if you're a leader or your team, or you have someone in your team who is just absolutely conflicted and can't, and I've seen that so many times. I had an employee who came in and she said, well, I don't I don't know what you're going to do that's different. And at the time we had this just as a workbook, and they would come in through the and work through this coaching toolkit. Now it's all online, so our clients can use it wherever they are virtually, and the entire course is built around it, and they come into the blended programs, so with live expert led. And she said to me, I have been to every workshop. I have been to every anger management. I have been to EAP. I have been everywhere. And I don't know what you're going to do to fix me. And I just looked at her, I was like, really? That's interesting, because I had no intentions of fixing you. And she was like, what do you mean? I thought that's why I'm here. I said, no, 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 no. You're here for an opportunity to transform your experience at work. So she looked at me. She was like, oh, what does that mean? I said, do you enjoy your working relationships with your colleagues, with your boss? Are you happy? Are you getting the promotions you want? Are you getting everything you want? Are you truly happy? Well, no, they're always speaking of me. I said, well, there you go. Now you have an opportunity to transform that. You need to create the workplace that you want, the work experience that you want. And You're in full control of that. She looked at me and she was so dedicated to transforming that, and later actually got a promotion into leadership. So it's done. I've seen it done so many times over the 28 years. And what we need to do is change the mindset. We need to help our team members and our employees to know that we're not here to fix them. What we're here to do is to provide them with another opportunity, additional tools so they can master their lives, master their work. Because what I've noticed is that the employees who challenged and have conflict and are challenged in their workplace tend to have a lot of those similar issues in their interpersonal lives, in their in families, in their relationships. These conflict attitudes tend to follow them in all areas of their lives. And I've seen this for decades. I'm sitting down with someone to talk about their conflict, or they're in one of our resilience mastery clinics, and we're dealing with a transforming the behavior, and they've had their time to share, and they're like, yeah, is there a pattern? Is this a pattern in somewhere in your life? Where else is it showing up? Yeah, I guess I don't get along with my mother-in-law or my wife or my teenage. And so it's there all the time. So if you're looking for tools and resources, I will definitely drop the link in there that you can connect with us if you want more information about the resilience clinics. Those are important because I consider them the opportunity to develop the skills we need to truly excel at work, because too often too many of us are suffering at work because we lack the skills to excel. And these little skills make such a difference in your life. So if you or someone in your team was avoiding conflict, whether you're the leader, you're the team member, it's not necessary anymore. Wherever you are, you can do what it needs, right? If you're a leader, if you're employee, you can develop the emotional relational muscles to turn conflict into connection, to grow through the conflict. It doesn't have to, whether it's in your church, whether it's in your leadership team, whether it's in your team that you're supervising. I've seen too many people and too many relationships destroyed by conflict. And that's something I'm passionate about to helping solve. So have a wonderful day and leave your comments below. Let us know if you have any questions, if you're in a conflict and you want to turn things around and you're looking for tips. Absolutely. I've written 2 books on conflict. I've also written our toolkit here, will give you the wide range of skills for based on the whole 9 dimensions of our lives. It looks at all the interpersonal elements, and it's really focusing on what skills we need to develop to be resilient and interpersonally well in our lives and in our work. So I wish you all the best. Have a wonderful time with your team. Enjoy work and have fun. You can connect with us here at interpersonalwellness.com, and we can share anything you want, because the healthiest teams don't avoid conflict, they navigate it. And that's where I want you to be.